This is Harlan Municipal Utilities Board of Trustees meeting for Thursday, April 27th, 2023. Take a motion to call the meeting to order.
I'll make that motion.
A second.
All in favor?
Sheldon, aye.
Michelle, aye.
Seibert, aye.
Call for approval of the agenda. Any conflicts of interest, state as applicable.
I'll make that motion.
A second it.
Roll call.
Sheldon, aye.
Michelle, aye.
Seibert, aye.
Let's move on to number 3, approval of consent agenda. All items listed under the consent agenda will be enacted by one motion with a roll call vote. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a request is made prior to the time the board votes on the motion. Consent agenda items may include or are not controversial subjects. A, minutes of the April 13th, 2023 board meeting. B, abstract of claim number 1234 in the amount of $880,823.98. Upcoming board meetings, May 11th will be a regular meeting. May 25th, 2023 will be an electronic board meeting.
I'll make that motion.
A second.
Roll call.
Sheldon, aye.
Michelle, aye.
Seibert, aye.
Number 4, Cummins contract for the generator in the amount of $4,793.03.
Yeah, this covers repairing some maintenance items on the generator here for the office.
It's in the budget.
Yeah, I mean, we had maintenance cost in there. Yeah, we always have some material in the budget.
How old is the generator?
The same age as this building.
2012, yeah.
It's just regular maintenance, belts, hoses, antifreeze, all that kind of stuff.
Didn't I see new batteries too?
Yes, I believe that is correct.
Okay.
So,
It's just coming to the board because of the dollar amount.
Yeah. I'll make that motion.
A second.
Roll call.
Sheldon, aye.
Michelle, aye.
Seibert, aye.
Number 5, Northern Municipal Distributors Group invoice, L&R contract in the amount of $3,967.06.
And I didn't print a copy of the invoice, so they already had it.
Yeah, this covers HMU's portion again of additional funds needed in the continued representation for the Northern Natural Gas rate increase as far as going towards our group and attorney.
Okay.
I mean, I think they're gaining some ground, but they're still not settled. Right now, I think Northern's still looking at about a 35% increase. From their initial 121% that they started at. So they're still trying to go back and forth with some numbers and, as far as explanations.
So is this this was anticipated, not anticipated, budgeted, not budgeted, or is this
Well, not anticipated. I mean, it's just one of those things, they come back around and they say, the group's got to pay an additional $30,000, and then they just divide it out percentage-wise.
Depends on how many times they have to meet.
Mm-hmm.
in other words, it's unbudgeted, but there's sufficient funding to cover it? Is that what you're saying?
Correct.
Okay. I move to approve item number 5, the Northern Mutual Distributors Group invoice in the amount of $3,967.06.
I'll second.
Sheldon,
Roll call.
Sheldon, aye.
Michelle, aye.
Seibert, aye.
Item number 6, health insurance, receive and file insurance committee minutes from 3/31/2023. Review recommendation to renew health insurance, 2.47% increase, dental 0 increase, short-term disability 2% increase, and effective July 1st, 2023.
Yeah, annual renewal. And as you can see, there's very limited and no increase due to the group that we belong to, so.
The 2.47 is a nice rate.
It was.
That's a very good rate.
Yeah.
I thought so at the meeting.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was really good.
I'll make a motion to approve that.
Second the motion.
Roll call.
Sheldon, aye.
Michelle, aye.
Seibert, aye.
I do have one question. Now that this has been voted upon, will this be distributed to the employees so that they're aware of?
I believe they already are aware of it. We've talked about it at our own employee meeting.
Okay, all right, thank you.
But it is also put in a payroll stuffer.
Okay.
Letting them know how much the exact dollar amount is.
All right.
Item number 7 is the MISO minimum participation criteria attachment. Credit policy and authorize Joe Ruschenberg to sign exhibit.
Exhibit 4 is the annual certification.
Oh, exhibit 4 and exhibit
Hey,
8 of the annual disclosure.
there again, this just certification and disclosure to ensure that HMU is financial, stable and being transparent with the MISO.
This is something we do every year, right?
Yeah, I-
Correct.
I think
Okay.
it's something.
And it's just within this utility, right? Within the,
Electric.
yep,
Yep.
it's not
Yep.
the utility writ large, it's just that utility. Okay.
Yep.
And it's just they like our board to approve this rather than just having.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Roll call.
Sheldon, aye.
Michelle, aye.
Seibert, aye.
Number 8, Mid-American Market Service Agreement, JOU confirmation letter for term of June 1st, 2023 through May 31st, 2024.
Annual agreement to provide market services for HMU's 0.8% ownership of the Louisa Generating Station. So there again, just pretty straightforward.
Yeah, it's they make us do it every year.
Right, yep. I'll move to approve item number 8.
I'll second that.
Roll call.
Sheldon, aye.
Michelle, aye.
Seibert, aye.
Number 9, fuel bids for July 1st, 2023 through July 30th, 2025.
Oh, sorry. Received 3 bids, Agerland FS, Farm Service Co-op, and Taylor Quick Pick. We reviewed, and at this point, we would recommend Agerland FS just on discount. They met all the criteria, I guess, as far as what we had in the fuel bid sheet that was sent out.
What is tank wagon, what is that requirement? What is that?
Gas truck.
Yeah, that would be just if there's emergency,
If their pumps are down and so they need to go to one of their other towns to get the gas, they will bring it with a truck. We don't have to drive there and get it.
Okay. Is that a requirement?
That's what we
It is
had.
asked on the bids on how, if they have other stations locally, if their normal pumps are down, and if we need it in emergency situations.
Yeah, so the reason I ask is that we just need to get really good at going out with bids and making sure we clarify what our requirements are and if they meet the requirements, because if that's a requirement, it looks as if the Taylor Quick Pick does not meet the requirement. Whether they could have come in with a lower bid but didn't meet the requirement, therefore they would have bid what?
Correct, and they also don't have the E85, which we use.
Okay, so,
But yeah, if you want to see those, I thought I sent you guys what the bid sheets actually look like, but you
Yep.
can see that those questions are asked individually.
okay. Yeah, so that, with that information, I feel very comfortable moving that we accept the bid from Agriland for our fuel supply program.
I'll second that.
Roll call.
Sheldon, aye.
Michelle, aye.
Seibert, aye.
Number 10, Oxen quote for sonic wall in the amount of $8,596, non-budgeted.
Yeah, this is an item, and then maybe Jim could add to it, but, was not budgeted, but Oxen could not get extended support for an additional year on the existing sonic wall, so I guess our only option is therefore to replace them, since we would not have the support for a year on that piece of equipment, or two pieces of equipment, right?
We've had it since 2014, and they're cycling it out, that model out of their support, and Oxen wasn't able to get the last 1 year support on it.
And we didn't know when the budgeting was done that the sonic wall wasn't going to be supported anymore.
Not at that time, no.
Okay.
So if we were to bifurcate the telecommunications budget into 3 sections, this would fall under an internet requirement, correct? Or does this serve cable, telephone, and internet?
Yeah, this is the ISP sonic wall.
Okay, so,
All the communication services side.
The customer side? Is it what we offer to the customers? The ISP side?
Well, yeah, it's the firewall for the virtual server. We have billing servers on there. I wouldn't necessarily say that it's for our office LAN. We have a separate firewall, sonic wall for our office. So this is primarily for the ISP, cable, internet, phone side.
so does this unbudgeted item affect rates at all?
No. It's 2 sonic walls. There's a primary one and a secondary one.
What part of this failed with all the mess up on the television channels?
Pardon?
Was this part of the television problem too? The cable?
No, not at all.
Does this prevent that from happening again, a firewall up for the?
No, the cable TV problem is totally separate.
Yeah, so that's my question. So is this across the telecommunications utility? Does this affect cable TV?
Will it come out of the cable TV budget? I think-
It'll come out of the internet budget.
Okay, that's my question, so, all right.
I think when you first came to us about this, the telecommunications committee, you said that it was going to come out of the internet budget.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Do we have a motion?
I guess my question is, are there other unfunded priorities that exist in the telecommunications
Unbudgeted.
unbudgeted requirements? And where does this fall out relative to those other unbudgeted? Is this the #1 priority coming out of telecommunications to be funded?
It would be, because we need to have a firewall. So, that's the need to have it replaced. And it has done its life cycle. Piece of equipment.
Is this already installed, or you will install it once we approve it? And is it gonna bring the internet down for a while or anything?
When they install the new one, there can be some like 5-minute times when services might be down. That'll be done in maintenance hour.
Yeah, so this is not really to you, it's to you, Joe. So here we have an unfunded requirement that has been presented to the board as critical. However, it should have been budgeted for, because normal life cycle replacement would have expected this to have expired.
Right.
And yet it wasn't. And so now we don't know what else is out there on an unfunded requirement from telecommunications. Yet because we're being given this one-off, it's the highest priority, and it's just not the way
Right.
to go about running. the
I would agree,
board.
I guess we probably need to get in the habit of doing like an inventory of what's in there, what's gonna be the next, so we can.
Yeah, what the age of the equipment is and what the lifespan of them
Right.
is.
And I assume that's something we can do, right, Jim, down the road? I mean, start looking at when a lot of that crucial stuff is put in, so we can plan ahead.
Right, Oxen keeps track of that and has a schedule for it.
Okay.
Yeah, because we did the same thing, we've gone through the same drill with the telecommunications process, where we had a telephone system that was unmaintainable, unrepairable, and we had to make a crisis decision to fund that as well. right?
Correct, things just started shutting down.
So, okay.
I think to answer your question, in the Oxen proposal, it says the process of replacement will cause a few minutes of downtime. Try to keep it to 5 minutes or less as long as it goes as planned. And I think that's the important thing, as
Right.
long as it goes as.
That's why I want to
planned.
make sure we're transparent
So,
and make
Yeah.
people aware that what if people are working the midnight shift or something and their system goes down, and that's what I'm trying to, I want to make sure we're letting people know that this could happen.
Yeah, this type of equipment, they configure it and then typically have to do a reboot. That's why they're saying 3 to 5 minutes. And if you have an internet service, you might not even notice it.
Okay. Well, I just want to be transparent because I don't want the girls to get 700 phone calls because their internet's down at midnight.
Yeah, based off of the critical nature of it and the timing, I would move that we begrudgingly approve item number 10.
I'll second that.
Roll call.
Shelton, aye.
Michelle, aye.
Seibert, aye.
I just try to get us more than 3 months in advance, or try to at least do the inventory and say, hey, maybe in about a month or 2, we might have this problem, or maybe 3 months down the line, we might
Right,
have a
get in that
problem.
next budget.
Instead of pulling that out. Okay, number 11, engagement letter for NCR to assist with the attachment H, which determines HMU's annual transmission revenue requirements in the Southwest Power Pool, and authorize Joe Ruschenberg to sign.
Again, annual requirement like it says, MCR's helped us in the past. They will get that submitted, and this will actually be then in our May meeting, would be a hearing, and they'd be present via Zoom to conduct that hearing on our annual transmission, revenue requirement for the Southwest Power Pool.
And they do that at the May 11th meeting, that's why it's.
Correct.
Right.
Yep.
That's why it's an in-person.
Yep.
Well, the May 11th meeting is an in-person meeting because we
Yeah.
switched.
Which
them
we
because
switched,
Joe's
yeah.
There's going to be absent.
But we'll cover it in the May meeting.
Okay,
Okay, can we get a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Second the motion.
Roll call.
Shelton, aye.
Michelle, aye.
Seibert, aye.
Number 12, PFM engagement letter and disclosure of conflicts.
John Burmeister with PFM, we're gonna have him assist us with determining, kind of the correct route for finance the raw water system improvement project. And then we would have him probably quarterly as the construction's going on, and maybe after construction's complete for a few quarters. Just kind of, he's got a cash flow analysis that he typically does for us. That way we can just make sure our rates, where they're at, is enough in the water to be able to pay off our debt for this project. and maintain money for, maintenance.
Yeah, so just in this package alone, this board package, there's 3 separate entities either conducting audits or providing financial information to us. So we went and agreed to hire an individual, and maybe he doesn't have the knowledge with which this individual has or this organization has, but I would ask that moving forward, we pay attention to what we do in-house as opposed to what we pay to have somebody else do out of house. Because this is a financial analysis service for the water utility. We just talked through a financial analysis service for the electric utility. So just, we were trying to bring some stuff in-house.
Right.
In that process, we tried to avoid some costs, but not with the intent that we just go and continue to fund
Correct.
other external accounting agencies. So that's what my only comment would be, that we pay attention to what we brought in and not just continue to send out. And then it goes back to, are these individuals using the audits that we do annually?
Yes.
Okay, then why are we paying them $35,000 to look at the audit that we've already paid to have done annually?
He is taking information out of the audit just to, do his cash flow analysis.
Okay.
And I'm not aware, this is something that Kurt has done in the past.
Okay.
It's the only reason that we're working with John Burmeister.
Was it budgeted?
I would say it'd be part of the water project.
He's been involved with us.
Yeah, since the beginning. Part of that funding.
Okay. Yeah, I don't have any other questions or comments.
Do you have any?
No, I think the other things that we approved, like that, the one that did the amendment H.
NCR.
That's a very specific,
Right.
that I don't think our in-house could do, because that's very specific forms, and I'm not sure in-house could do that.
Right.
That's correct, that's a correct statement.
Yeah, so when you're looking at that, I just don't think they could do that. And that's reports and forms, and that's all stuff that has to be filed exactly correct, so I just don't, I think that's money well spent.
And again, with PFM, they're a registered municipal advisor, which is a requirement with USDA funding also,
Okay,
as part of that project.
so this is something that we really probably have to have because we're using those funds.
Correct.
Okay. So because we're using those funds, there's certain criteria put on it that we have to utilize.
Yes.
Okay.
And I think they mentioned it at the last meeting, didn't they?
And is this coming out of those funds? Is this being paid for out of those funds?
Well, I guess that was the intention. That would be part of the,
It's all wrapped up in a job number.
yeah,
We're-
for that project.
Okay.
This is the one with you have to be versified with who's helping, who's with the government and everything, correct?
The same project.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Do we have a motion on this already?
No, not yet.
Okay, I'll make a motion, we accept.
Second it.
Roll call.
Sheldon, aye.
Michelle, aye.
Seibert, aye.
Number 13.
And on that too, Michelle, there, we did talk, as far as item 13, we did talk to our bond attorney as far as, you know, going ahead to hold the public hearing or not. Since we do have some issues with that bid that came in for our water, you know, as far as the amount that was over. His suggestion was that we still go ahead and hold that public hearing on the plans and specs, since we did have it published in the paper for the hearing. So at least do that portion of it.
So do 13 and 14?
Do 13, yeah, then 14 and 15 there, we're gonna, we will probably end up, we're gonna end up adjourning under 14.
Yeah, you still want to hold the public hearing because that's what we had published.
Yep.
So we're gonna hold the public hearing and possibly go ahead and approve the plan specs, form of contract and everything. But then in number 14 is when you'll actually see if you're going to approve the actual bids or adjourn.
Till like our May meeting.
Yep.
Okay. So number 13, this is the time and the place for the public hearing on the matter of the adoption of plans, specifications, form of contract, estimate of cost of construction for the raw water system improvements, Section 1. Raw water mains, electrical fiber conduit, Section 2. Well drilling, Section 3. Site work, well houses, equipment, and miscellaneous well connections. Section 4. Electrical and fiber wiring. Have there been any written objections?
No.
No.
Are there any oral objections? The public hearing is closed.
Yep. And I would like to let you guys all know too that Al Powers from P&E Engineering and Gary Browns from McClure are both on the line.
Good.
If you have questions for them.
We will. Okay, good. Okay, so the public hearing is closed. A resolution adopting plans, specifications, form of contract, and estimated cost.
So I'll make a recommendation that we approve item number 13.
And I'll second that.
Roll call.
Shelton and I.
Michelle, aye.
Seibert, aye.
Okay, number 14.
What did you want us to do about 14 now?
Well, let's,
Yeah, we would go ahead and, I mean, you could, I guess, read, you know, what the item is, and then we could have discussion on that.
Okay,
Yeah, it's that item is to consider the construction bids and the resolution designating a low bidder. So I think what Joe was recommending is that you adjourn that to the next meeting.
Right, because basically at this point, yeah, basically at this point, I guess, I think we need to continue some discussions both with engineer, contractor, you know, John Burmeister, if he can get us some information as far as, you know, how we could financially move forward with the project as it was bid, you know, or if we're gonna have to take other action or you know, another route, you know, possible rebid. I mean, there's different options, but at least this point, I mean, we felt that since we had the overage, I think it was too quick to try to get committee meeting together, you know, didn't want to make a rash decision. So our thought process is here, hopefully next week we would have a water committee meeting, hopefully have a lot of this information in front of us as far as the finances, information from the contractor, engineers, and then be able to make more of a educated decision at our May 11th meeting as far as what option or which direction we go with the project.
Okay.
okay, so number 14. Raw water system improvement, Section 1. Raw water mains, electric fiber, conduit, Section 2. Well drilling, Section 3. Site work, well houses, equipment, and miscellaneous well connections, Section 4. Electrical and fiber wiring. Consideration of construction bids and resolution designated low bidder. Adopt and adjourn. Resolution making award of construction contract. Board action required.
So either one of those you could either adopt or adjourn to a later date.
So can we ask some questions since we have McClure on the line, right?
Sure.
Yes. And you'll have to do those as two separate motions anyway.
Okay.
Oh, Gary just hung up, it looks like. Can one of you guys have his number to see if he can call back in?
Yeah, you can just follow up with questions to him. So my question really is, each one of these sections, there's only one real problem section, and that is section 4. And that's a big heinous discrepancy. So my question is it possible to just go back and look at that section and do the analysis on that section with the engineer and the bidder, rather than having to go back out and recompete the whole thing?
Yeah, there was, the contractor actually approached us about even looking at some value engineering. You know, what can we change, or is there a different way to construct? There again, we were kind of waiting to get everything, information put together before we make any decisions on that.
That's,
I know we'd have to talk to our bond attorney, just to make sure there isn't any legalities
Right.
to doing that. You know, and I don't know if there would be, since we only had the one bidder.
Yeah, so I assume we bid it all together, all 4 sections together.
Correct.
Yeah, I haven't gone through this very small font document. It's a reasonable bid up until
Yes.
number 4. So if there was the ability to legally go back and just address section 4, I think we would be able to better serve the community and
Oh, yeah, definitely.
move forward, as opposed to maybe taking 3 steps back. So that is my question. So
Okay.
I wonder if he had oxen. You missed it.
He is coming back in?
He said he's coming back out.
Yeah, so we could ask those questions, and then even Al Powers is on there with P&E, who did Al was more responsible with the section 4. I don't know if Al could speak to some of that, or,
Al, did you hear that?
Now double my estimate. I did review my estimate today. I still think my estimate is reasonable. I don't have any explanation for why it's so much higher, except that, as we talked about in the past, this is utility type work. And I don't know that we really got the bidders that are most likely to do that type of work. We were not able to get them involved in the project. So as you've already indicated, one possibility of bidding section 4 as a separate project so that we could more specifically address the target audience of bidders that might be more qualified or more familiar with that type of work.
Yeah, Al, that helps quite a bit, definitely understand, and probably that's a bond attorney discussion. I'm
correct,
sure.
correct.
Yep, okay.
Gary's coming back on.
Yep, Gary, can you hear us?
I can, I'm so sorry. Completely lost internet connection here and it flashed and now it's back, so apologies.
Do you want me to re-ask?
Yeah, if you want to re-ask.
Hey, Gary, it's Jim Shelton. The question that was asked was basically, as we looked through the engineer's estimate and then the one bid, the big discrepancy occurs in section 4, which is the electrical and fiber wiring. And the question was, is it feasible to actually go back and have, rather than recompete the whole thing, to just have section 4 studied and reviewed, and potentially, as Al just mentioned a moment ago, potentially have that even carved out over
context of awarding this bid and then carving that piece out, or carving this piece out from the awarded bid, just to make sure I'm understanding the question?
So either or, right? Whether it's do we have the ability to go back, one, and have a discussion about section 4 with the current contractor or the proposal? And two, do we have the ability to carve it out and maybe compete it separately over just section 4?
Thank you for the clarification. The way that the bid documents were prepared is this would be awarded under a single contract, so all 4 sections to one general contractor. So in terms of, can you award, say, the first 3 sections, not the 4th? The answer to that is that's not how the bid documents were put together. It was 4 sections under a single contract, under one contract alone. Can that be done? I would want to talk with the city's bond council, or excuse me, the municipal utilities bond council before, an answer there, because I certainly wouldn't want to give you guys direction on something that may not follow Iowa code from that perspective. I would lean to the fact that that's not the way the bid documents were prepared, and so I think they would probably lean towards saying no. What you would do is likely reject all the bids, in this case the single bid received, make any clarifications to the documents, including the bid form, and other documents within the contract documents, the plans and specs, and then rebid the project. I don't know if that kind of follows along with generally what Al had indicated as well. I think I missed most of his comments.
Yes, I would agree with that, what Gary just said. And the possibility of bidding Section 4 as a separate contract, I think we should discuss and that should be explored, but I certainly agree with the direction you're headed.
Do you think it's because the bidder is going to have to general contract that out himself since he doesn't know how to do that?
Right.
Is why he went high on that, or?
I think there was the gist I got, and correct me if I'm wrong, Gary, there was a sub of a sub. In other words, there was a subcontractor that was doing 4, but he needed another contractor to do kind of the high voltage part of it. He wasn't, as experienced in the high voltage, so he had somebody underneath him then to help with the high voltage part.
I certainly think that may be part of the increase in cost, but even if you pull the Section 4 work out, the high voltage portion wouldn't necessarily be a major portion of the overall scope of work, but that's kind of my understanding based on the comments provided back by the bidding contractor. Maybe Al can clarify that too, but that was my understanding from the comments received.
I'm not sure I totally understood, Gary, but of the total Section 4, I would say the high voltage work is about half of it, and the secondary is maybe about half of it. So I would say that's a significant portion. But again, I don't know why it came in so much higher than my estimate.
Yeah, maybe what I was trying to say too is if you say reconfigured the Section 4 plans, you could maybe even do something where you have maybe 2 separate contracts or 2 separate contractors as part of that section. There's maybe some things that could be done, but Al, I guess I'm maybe treading into your area there.
No, not at all. Go right ahead. I think it deserves discussion, and certainly we should consider all possibilities.
Yeah, so one last question is, and we talked about this briefly, is that, timing, the fact that we only have a single contractor bid on this, is it the complexity of the work? Is it the timing? In other words, have other contractors already allocated their time during this fiscal year and thus didn't have the resource of time to compete on this? And if so, would it be prudent to, rather than just go right back out and recompete it again, we look at the calendar, the business calendar of some of these other entities and figure out if there's a better time to to conduct the work. Over.
All those are possibilities. Certainly the market conditions now are challenging. We're seeing many
Right.
projects that are out there that are receiving very small number of bidders, even in other cases, single bids. So it's not completely uncommon. There's really just a large glut of work that seems to be in the market currently. And because of that, we're seeing in general less bidders than maybe we had seen just a few years back. I would say maybe pre-COVID. So that is certainly part of it. As far as the timing, one of the reasons that we also, in preparing the schedule of the project, and that means the schedule of the completion of work by a contractor, we also included in conversations with suppliers and contractors about timing. And from that aspect, that's also why we extended the completion dates to the dates we did. I wouldn't say that the work had an expedited schedule from that standpoint. And part of that design was, again, just to encourage bidders that they had some leeway in when they would procure materials, number one. Obviously, some of that has been pre-procured, but procure materials, and then number two, in completing the work. And so I don't know that the schedule was as much of a challenge, but that's certainly maybe something to explore further.
And if I read something correctly, and it's either for Al or for Gary, I thought I read something as far as they thought like the material prices were kind of leveling, or maybe things were starting to drop off a little bit as far as the high prices on materials.
I think the material prices, I'll speak maybe more to the first two sections of work specifically. Certainly we've maybe seen the rate of inflation starting to slow some, but inflation still is higher than normal, even in some of the more recent bids. So I think the rate or the pace at which it was increasing, Joe, has slowed, but the overall inflation rate we're seeing, when you look at what's called the Consumer Construction Index or the Building Construction Index, still is significantly higher than what you would say is average, maybe over the last 10 years certainly. So maybe slowing, but still is higher than an average number. And I'm speaking maybe more specifically to things like water and sewer main and fittings, that sort of type of construction. As far as the electrical components, more to the SCADA and controls, we continue to see very long lead times on those. They are starting to come down some, yes, but they're certainly longer than historical norms. And again, the pricing inflation on those kinds of materials has still been much higher than we had seen, say, 4 or 5 years ago, for sure. As far as maybe some of the the electrical and fiber wiring, the Section 4 work, I don't want to speak for Al since he's on. I'll certainly let him answer that piece.
Well, for Section 4, you have already pre-ordered almost all, well, I'll say all of the major equipment. So in that section, the contractor is only providing kind of miscellaneous parts and pieces, so the material cost is not a big part of it.
Yeah, I think there's really 3 options, really. Or actually 3 or 2 and a subset of 1. So look at the Section 4, see if it can be broken out or competed separately. I think the answer is probably trending towards no. And then the only other option is, barring us magically coming up with more money, is to recompete this thing. So, but that's not, those are just thoughts. I'll defer to Madam Chairman on what our next step is.
I think we need to have this reviewed before we approve that.
So you're wanting to go with the adjournment to the May 11th at 4:15?
Yes,
Yeah, I think so.
because that's,
Can we get a motion in a second?
I'll make that motion.
I'll,
Adjourn it to the May 11th.
Second that.
roll call.
Sheldon, aye.
Seibert, aye.
Item number 15?
We need
Finance,
to do 14B.
oh, 14B, I'm
Yeah.
sorry. Resolution and making award of the construction contract.
I'll make the same motion that I did for 14A.
Second.
So that will be also adjourned to the May 11th meeting at approximately 4:15.
Yep.
Our bond attorney said to make sure we stated that, that's why.
Sorry. Roll call.
Sheldon, aye.
Michelle, aye.
Seibert, aye.
Financing, 15, financing for water project.
And maybe that's kind of a, I guess we had a little discussion about that, what we do, so, I mean, that's why we kind of had that item in there, maybe we did have a little discussion, but I think we're all under the same thoughts that we try to get some numbers put together, talk to bond attorney, so forth, and then see what's the best option for us.
I agree.
Okay?
Okay, number 16, information only, treasurer's report as of March 31st, 2023 includes budget and amendments.
Yeah, basically, this is something that Kurt, our partial staff accountant came up with. He's certainly willing to look at any, any comments, criticisms, anything more we want to see. Basically, just something to try to get in front of you to see what the health is, every month of all the utilities.
Yeah, I think it's, and just in the very limited scope of what he provided, I think it's probably more valuable than what we've seen to date as it relates to the ability to know what utility is specifically trending well, not trending well, what actions need to be considered, and then decisions that the board needs to make that are fiscally informed. I think this is probably a good initial start. So.
And on that note too, I guess we were kind of wondering as far as, do we want to see this as a separate item on each agenda, or is it something you want to just move to the consent item?
And it doesn't really need any type of approval, it's just basically for your information, so.
So I don't know if we want to keep an information only item in there each month.
I think just leave it as an information.
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean,
That way, if you want to do a little discussion on it, you can.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that sounds good. Okay. 17, the CEO's report.
Yeah, I've just got a few items here. Dylan Zorns and Jordan Flattery both passed their CDLs today. They're some of our newer hires. And that went well, I think. Item B, hydrant flushing, water department worked on beginning of the month. I think that went well also. Item C, last meeting we kind of talked about, we had to get some trees out of the Tree USA down there and we talked about moving those up here around the water plant office. We ended up being able to get 10 out of there. We were hoping to get 15. But there was only 2 bur oaks that he could get moved just because of the size. So we had it kind of laid out for an additional 5. We're looking at trying to go through crees to get some of the potted ones, to replace that for the other 5. And on that same note, item D, I think it was Tuesday evening or Tuesday at 5:30, I ran up to the baseball, softball diamond area up there. Shelby County Tree Committee was up there giving trees away free. And they contacted me and stated that they had a couple extra left over, a couple maples. So I did go up and grab those, they were free. We're looking at, Donald and his guys are planning on maybe north of our water plant, north of the chemical building. They'll probably stick those 2 also. Item E, Cavoy Pump Source is finishing maintenance work this week on some of our existing wells. Did they work on 4 last week?
4 this week.
And then 4 this week, to try to gain some additional flow during our interim here, to get our 4 new wells in place. They got additional output on each well. Some of them actually doubled in output, so what we're doing is working. Some of them not, I think there was 1 or 2, maybe not so much, but every which one of them. I mean, so what we're doing is improving what we got, so hopefully keep us out of water conservation. But we should have kind of a final report in the next week or whatever when they get these done, which will show us actually what we gained on all 8 of those wells.
So hopefully we'll have a good report by the May 11th.
Yes, I hope
We'll
so.
also be doing an internal one, the guys that we brought on will have a really good idea of what we gained on it as well, so.
Good.
And then last item, I've got the 3 anniversaries for April. Lexi Hagel is 12 years, Deb McLaughlin, 18 years, and Colburn, 9 years. And that's all I have, unless you have any questions for me. Okay.
Nope.
I'm good.
Can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
A second?
Roll call.
Sheldon, aye.